Hello everyone, it's Lucy05 and welcome to the Cobra Command Central toy review, and today we'll be looking at the 2009 release by Mattel of the DC Universe Classics on Collect and Connect Your Own Figure, the Kilowog series, and we'll be reviewing on the Cyborg Superman from the Sinestro Corp. Now this is my first DC Universe Classic action figure. I've been dying to get this figure ever since a lot of reviewers started to review this figure. But the problem is a lot of sculptor shops tend to sell these waves of the set. Okay, they sell it in a set for particular waves, and I don't want to get the rest of the figures because I have no interest on collecting the rest of the figures. It's just this guy I want to get. It's really awesome looking. Now I stumbled upon into this sculptor shop nearby my area, another sculptor shop, and they're selling this figure a single pack instead of forcing you to buy the whole entire set. But there's a catch. As you can see, there's no Kilowog parts. Yep, I got this figure without the Kilowog parts, and I have no interest in building Kilowog in the first place. Now you got Cyborg Superman here, and this is a repaint of the older series for the Cyborg Superman, except there's some few changes which I'm going to show to you guys later on. Now for this pack itself, it came along with the head and the lower, the crotch part for the Kilowog figure. Since this figure doesn't have the parts itself, I really couldn't care less because I'm not interested in building the figure itself. Back at the back here, we see the rest of the waves itself, the rest of the figures. You got John Stewart that came with the left arm, the Question with the left leg, Cyborg Superman, the head and the lower torso, Stephen Wolf with the figure stand, Kapma Tool, upper and middle torso, Shark right leg, Deadman right arm, and with all their parts. Once collected, you build this big ass Kilowog figure. Now here we have the biography of Cyborg Superman, and despite that it's stated statistics, it's actually appearances for Cyborg Superman, on which issue he appeared and whatsoever, and then there's also his real name, and his occupation is mass murderer. I was like, what? Base operations is Terran solar system, special abilities, able to control the electronics, can create new bodies for himself out of machinery, invulnerable, able to create and manipulate objects with 5 Sinestro Corp rings. Very nice. Now I can't wait to open this figure out, so without further ado, I'm just gonna open this figure and molest the toy. Be right back. And we're back after removing the figure out from the packaging. Now let's take a look at the sculpt for this figure. Now the sculpt is, a lot of DC Universe collectors tend to complain that majority of the bodies being used for their action figures are, pretty generic. Case in point here, the body itself is, pretty generic. It's the same as Superman, and it's the same as, some of the other characters, except for some minor differences. As you can see, this piece here is a separate piece onto his chest. There are some sculpt for his cybernetic part. This piece here is a new piece, but the side here is all the same. As you can see, the cybernetic arms is very nicely sculpted. As you can see here, very nicely done. And then you have the fist that holds 4 power rings from Sinestro Corp. Each of the power ring itself is different. Very nicely done. There's a belt buckle here, as you can see. And the body's, muscles are also quite, it's nice to have this kind of a sculpt, but not too overly exciting, It's quite generic. The face sculpt, however, is very, very awesome looking. You can see this, like a Terminator. And as you can see, one side here is flesh with hair. It's very nicely done. Paint job for this figure is exactly just like how he is portrayed in the DC Comics when he appeared in the Sinestro Corp War, in the War of Light. So the red in his body and his cape is not too bright, it's sort of dull red, as you can see here. It's a nice combination used for the dull red with the black colors, and then you have this sort of shiny silver going on, and the chest emblem shaped as Superman but with the Sinestro Corp emblem, and the back is imprinted with the same emblem except it's in black. The eyes are red, each of the individual teeth is painted so you can actually see the gaps. His chin, however, is red too. I have no idea why. I don't know why the artist actually wanted to paint it originally like that. And that's about it actually. There's a paint job, there's a gold paint on his belt buckle, but it's a bit smudged on the corner there. I'm not too worried. And his flesh colored tone here is a bit tan, as you can see. More tanner than I wanted Cyborg Superman to be. And let's take a look at his articulation. He is a DC Universe classic, so he's a bit lacking compared to a Marvel Legends. The head can turn 360 degrees, but cannot pivot up and down. Torso here can pivot downwards and backwards, but it's a bit hindered by the cape itself. As you can see, the cape here is hard plastic rather than soft plastic, so you can see you can't actually bend the cape to... Look at this, I'm hanging it like so and it's not drooping downwards. This is the kind of hard plastic I really don't like. Arms here cannot turn 360 degrees, can lift upwards though, because it's hindered by the cape. Arms can raise up to this point, 360 degrees turn for the upper bicep. The elbow, there's no double jointed, so it bends as far as here, and there is a wrist articulation that turns 360 degrees, but you can't pivot inwards or outwards. There's no finger articulation, but then again, we're talking about Cyborg Superman. Well, why do we need finger articulation? The shoulder, on the other hand here, the other arm here, is quite different for articulation. As you can see, it can... This is as much as it can raise up his arm compared to the other arm. But the articulation on the arm itself is about the same on the other arm, so there's no hindrance except for the shoulder here. Now there's waist articulation that can turn 360 degrees, and the leg joint is far more different than a Marvel Legends. As you can see here, there's no ball joint, ball hip joints. You can bend the legs as far as here and bend a little bit backwards. It's a bit hindered by the cape. On the side you can bend or spread the legs as far as like so, but you have to be careful not to do it too often, otherwise you will just loosen up the hip joints. Swivel tie that turns 360 degrees. Knee joint bent as far as here, so that's a bit disappointed that there's no double jointed knee, and there's no calf joint. And the ankle here can pivot downwards and upwards, but you cannot turn 360 degrees on the ankle, nor there's any toe articulation. So yeah, articulation is a bit, well, more hindered, and lack of, well, lacking of a few more articulation compared to a Marvel Legends. But the sculpt itself is not bad, and the paint job is actually not bad. So if I'm gonna give a rating of this, I'll say I'll give Superman here, Cyborg Superman here, a 7 out of 10. So I thank you all for watching. This is Lucy05 and I'm signing off.